I wanted to discuss with you today something that came up in the last few days. And essentially I was talking to a friend of mine and they were saying that in passing with talking to a staff member at the drop-in day regarding the local area plan, something came up. Just the person said it in passing, oh yes, we've lost some of our staff in Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown planning that have moved over temporarily to An Bord Pleanála. Sent an email over to An Bord Pleanála asking them, and also the planning department in Rathdown. The An Bord Pleanála did not come back to me, and this is what the planning department had to say. Hello, I was at your, this is what I said to them. Hello, I was at your local area plan for the Dundrum drop-in day yesterday. My friend was talking to one of the staff and it came up, she mentioned that there had been, one of the staff mentioned that there had been a secondment of some staff from Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown planning department over to An Bord Pleanála to work on the An Bord Pleanála backlog in planning applications. And I asked, can you confirm this? And I got a reply back very quickly, actually the next day. They replied back, staffing issues, thank you for inquiry. Staffing issues are an internal matter that we are not in a position to discuss. Thank you for attending the drop-in day. Now they're not confirming or denying it, but I just think, I'm putting it out there what you guys think. Is it a conflict of interest or is it not? And she was a bit taken aback and she said, what are they doing there? Oh well, there's a backlog of planning decisions in An Bord Pleanála, which we all know about because we're waiting over a year for a decision on our Dundrum Village SHD. It should have been a year ago, as well as hundreds of others. And they're there to facilitate and go through and help with the An Bord Pleanála's backlog. Now, initially she was taken aback and I was a bit taken aback as well. And I'll tell you why I'm a bit taken aback, if it is true, is that Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown planning and An Bord Pleanála have two very, very different roles within society and our community. An Bord Pleanála is a semi-state body which basically are the final decision makers for a court case or a judicial review. You know what I mean? They are like heads up and they've had their own problems recently, and this is where it gets a little bit muddy. In light of the fact that there's been so much controversy in the last year about An Bord Pleanála, their ex-co-chairperson is in jail now, sentenced to 2 months in prison for conflicts of interest, should I say, and the chairperson resigned and there's been a big clear out. You know, optically, was it a good commercial decision to say, we're going to now take staff, if it's true, from the planning department within the council and bring them into thing? And I tell you why people say, well, what's the problem with that? The problem is very, very simple. If you take, let's say, a situation with the Dundrum Village SHD, the developers put in an application, everyone's got 6 weeks to make a submission. Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown Planning Department put a lot of resources into making a 120-page submission. They said things like Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown, it would significantly detract from the character of the area and should be refused, or it would, another one was they urged An Bord Pleanála, the board, to refuse the application, saying it would be in conflict with the county development plan. This is not small little detail. This is, serious issues that Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown had with just that one particular, we'll say, SHD. So now we're in a situation a year later where that Dundrum Village SHD still hasn't been decided upon because of the backlog, along with loads of others. And now you have staff temporarily moved over, if it's true, into that planning department. Now, one could say, well, they're hardly going to be adjudicating on the Dundrum Village SHD the same staff. Well, as we know in public service and civil service life, not all things are done the way they should be done because of a lack of resources. And while there's no suggestion that there's anything wrong, people are just doing what their hierarchy are telling them in relation to having to move over. I think in light of what's happened in the last 12 months, this is not a good look for either An Bord Pleanála or the planning department. And for me, if you say, well, how would you see any difference at the moment? I'll tell you how I see a difference. A year ago, Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown had those words to say about this high-rise scheme. They didn't want it. Knocked it out of the park. We don't want it. It's a disaster. It's going to ruin the look of the area. Now we're in a situation. Last week, a local area plan has been is published, right? And now there's, in my view, a total U-turn, right? In their own words, they're saying allow for greater height along the Dundrum bypass of up to 11 stories in alternating heights to create a visual interest. Now, in this document here, they're talking about this high-rise scheme significantly detracting from the character of the area. Well, 11 stories going along is going to do the same thing. So the point being is, are there staff that wrote that 120-page document, submission to An Bord Pleanála, now working in An Bord Pleanála? And could they possibly be also deciding upon what will be probably the largest strategic housing development that An Bord Pleanála have had to go over? Definitely one of them, top few. So there's going to be a lot of staff pulled in to work on that. And potentially, I'm only sort of putting it out there, it could be false or wrong or true. There's going to be staff from Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown working on it, looking at the submissions they wrote. That's a possibility. Now, we may never hear about that, or we may hear about it, but at this moment in time, I wanted to put it out there. The fact that so many county councils, like South Dublin Council, voted no confidence in An Bord Pleanála. All these departments in the last 12 months have said no confidence, and there's a known gripe between county councils and An Bord Pleanála. So I don't know whether this again is a new strategy by the government to say, listen, with all the judicial reviews and the gripes between Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown and all the other county councils, we want to make it, we're going to change the name of An Bord Pleanála, which has been reported, and have sort of everything fused into one. Is that a good way to go? I don't know.